John Carter adjusted his formal uniform as he looked out the viewport of the diplomatic shuttle. The massive space station that housed the Galactic Council loomed ahead, a shining silver wheel against the blackness of space. Earth had waited 50 years for this moment. Formal recognition and a chance to join the interstellar community. "Nervous?" asked Susan Miller, his aide, and second in command. Her eyes scanned the approaching station with practiced caution. "A healthy amount," Carter admitted. "We're the new kids at school, and from what I hear, some of these species have been running things for thousands of years." The shuttle docked with a gentle hiss. Carter took a deep breath. He represented not just the United Earth government, but all of humanity. This meeting would shape mankind's future among the stars. The welcoming party consisted of tall, blue-skinned aliens with 4 arms, the Nelvari, known for their role as council mediators. Their leader stepped forward. "Ambassador Carter, welcome to Centralis Station. I am First Speaker Jalon. The council awaits." Carter and Miller followed the Nelvari through gleaming corridors. Other alien species watched them pass, some with obvious curiosity, others with what looked like disdain. "Remember the briefing," Miller whispered. "The Scatheri representatives will be seated directly across from us. They've opposed human membership from the beginning." Carter nodded. The Scatheri were among the oldest council races, reptilian beings known for their strict adherence to tradition. Intelligence reports suggested they viewed humanity as dangerous upstarts. The council chamber took Carter's breath away. A vast circular room with 17 raised platforms arranged in a ring. Each platform held representatives from a different alien civilization. Carter spotted the Scatheri immediately. Tall, few hundred ships. We have monitored all known human space. There is no unusual activity. Behind the darkness of Neptune, hidden from Council observation posts, reality told a different story. Here, the largest fleet ever assembled in human history took shape. 5 carrier groups, 30 destroyer squadrons, and hundreds of smaller craft arranged in perfect formation. At the center, the UES Vengeance, a dreadnought built in secret over the past decade, waited for its first mission. On its bridge stood Fleet Commander Alan Ross. He watched as the latest group of ships arrived from Mars shipyards. "Status report," Ross ordered. "All ships present and accounted for, sir," replied his second-in-command. "The last stealth corvettes just arrived from Titan. Ground forces are loaded and ready, just waiting on final authorization." Ross nodded. Earth had been preparing for this possibility since first contact revealed the existence of the Galactic Council. The Rapid Shipbuilding Program, officially called the Defense Initiative, had been dismissed by Council observers as primitive catch-up efforts. They never realized the true scale of humanity's preparations. On Earth, in the underground presidential bunker, Susan Miller delivered her full report to world leaders. She had escaped Centralis Station with help from sympathetic aliens and returned to Earth with critical intelligence. "The Scatheri have been manipulating Council politics for centuries," Miller explained, pointing to data displayed on the room's main screen. "They've orchestrated the removal of at least 17 species that threaten their dominance. We weren't singled out. We're just the latest target." President Alice Ward studied the information. "And these other Council races, are they all complicit?" Miller shook her head. "Many are victims themselves, kept in line through fear and manipulation. The Nelvari, Brill, and Aridians have all suffered under Scatheri influence. They might be potential allies." The Defense Secretary spoke up. "The fleet is assembled and ready, Madam President. Operation Prometheus awaits your command." President Ward stood and walked to the window overlooking the rebuilt Washington skyline. Citizens below went about their daily lives, unaware of the momentous decision being made. "The Council believes we're cowering in fear," she said quietly. "That we've accepted Carter's murder as the price of our ambition." She turned to face the room. "They're wrong." She pressed her palm against the authorization scanner. The screen flashed green. "Operation Prometheus is approved. Commander Ross has full tactical authority." In space, Ross received the authorization code. He addressed the fleet through the command channel. "This is Fleet Commander Ross to all ships. We have waited and watched for 3 weeks. The enemy believes we lack the courage to respond. Today, we proved them wrong." Ross brought up the tactical display. "Our target is the Scatheri homeworld. Their defense grid is our primary objective. Captain Steve Bennett will lead the ground teams." Captain Bennett, aboard the stealth insertion ship Nemesis, reviewed his mission details. His team would infiltrate the planetary defense headquarters while the fleet created a diversion. "Remember," Ross continued, "this is not about destruction. It's about justice. No civilian targets. We want Elder Vosik captured alive to face human justice. Show the galaxy the difference between their barbarism and our civilization." The massive fleet began to move, utilizing the jump technology that Council races had dismissed as theoretical for humans. In moments, they would arrive at the Scatheri homeworld, and the galaxy would learn what happened when humanity sought revenge. The Scatheri homeworld of Valos Prime glowed like a jewel against the blackness of space. Its 3 moons reflected light onto the planet's scaled cities. Today was the Purification Festival, when the Scatheri celebrated their ascension to the Galactic Council 5,000 years ago. Elder Vosik stood on his ceremonial platform in the Grand Temple. Below him, thousands of Scatheri citizens watched with reverence. "Today we remember the wisdom of our ancestors," Vosik announced, "who recognized that not all species deserve a place among the stars. Some bring chaos, some bring disorder, some, like the humans, bring dangerous ideas that threaten the balance we have maintained." The crowd hissed in approval. 3 weeks ago, we showed the humans their place, Vosek continued. Now they hide in their own system, afraid to. A young Scatheri military officer rushed onto the platform. Elder, our orbital sensors detect unusual energy readings at the edge of our system. Vosek frowned. Explain. Multiple jump signatures, hundreds of them. Nothing matching known Council ship profiles. Before Vosek could respond, the sky above the temple darkened. The 3 moons of Valos Prime were suddenly blocked by massive shapes. Human ships, hundreds of them, appeared in low orbit, their hulls reflecting sunlight onto the panicked crowd below. In the lead ship, Commander Ross watched the tactical display. All ships in position, reported his tactical officer. Scatheri defense grid is active but confused. Their ships are scattered for the festival. Ross nodded. Begin Phase 1. Captain Bennett, you have a green light. On the stealth ship Nemesis, Captain Steve Bennett and his team prepared for drop. Their armor was lightweight but stronger than anything the Scatheri had. Their weapons were set to stun. Remember your training, Bennett told his soldiers. We aren't here to start a war. We're here to end one before it begins. The drop pods launched silently, falling toward the Scatheri defense headquarters, while the main fleet distracted their sensors. On the Scatheri command center, panic spread. Launch all fighters. Contact the Council for emergency assistance, ordered the base commander. A communications officer tried repeatedly to send the distress call. Sir, I cannot reach any Council world. All channels are being blocked or jammed. Outside, Scatheri defense ships rose to meet the human fleet. They fired energy weapons that the humans had never displayed during previous encounters. But something strange happened. The human ships didn't return fire. Instead, they released small drones that attached to the Scatheri vessels, overriding their systems. What is happening? Demanded the Scatheri commander as his ship's engine shut down. Sir, the humans are boarding our vessels, reported an officer in disbelief. They're taking our crews prisoner. Back in the temple, Vosk tried to maintain order. Remain calm. Our defenses are the strongest in the galaxy. The humans cannot. The temple doors burst open. Captain Bennett walked in with his team, their weapons raised but not firing. Elder Vosek, Bennett called, his voice amplified by his suit. In the name of human justice, you are being detained to stand trial for the murder of Ambassador John Carter and crimes against multiple species. Vosek backed away. This is an outrage. You cannot simply invade a Council world. I am protected by. The Council cannot help you, Bennett interrupted. Right now, human ships control the space above 17 Council worlds. None of your allies can communicate with each other or send help. Bennett approached the ceremonial platform. You can come willingly and avoid bloodshed, or resist and watch your planet suffer. The temple was silent. Thousands of Scatheri citizens watched in shock as their great elder faced the human soldier. You will destroy everything your kind has built, Vosek hissed. The Council will never accept you after this. Bennett shook his head. We're not looking for their acceptance anymore. 3 weeks ago, you showed us what the Council truly stands for. Now we're going to show you what humanity stands for. He turned to address the crowd. Citizens of Valos Prime, we have no quarrel with you, only with those who ordered the murder of our ambassador. No Scatheri civilian will be harmed, but Elder Vosek will face justice for his crimes. As Vosek was secured and led away, Bennett activated his communication link. Commander Ross, primary objective secured. Elder Vosek is in custody. In orbit, Ross acknowledged. Good work, Captain. Phase 2 begins now. Let's see how the Council reacts when they learn what their revered elder has been hiding for centuries. News spread quickly across the galaxy. Humans had captured Elder Vosek and now held the Scatheri homeworld under their control. The Galactic Council called an emergency session, but the usual unity was nowhere to be found. In the Grand Council chamber, representatives argued loudly. Some demanded immediate military action against Earth. Others questioned why humans had attacked so precisely, taking no civilian lives. "The humans are barbarians," shouted the Draxian representative, a close ally of the Scatheri. "They must be punished for this violation of council law." Yet they showed restraint, noted the Brill speaker. No Scatheri civilians were harmed. Only military targets and Elder Vosik himself were taken. The council chairperson struggled to maintain order. "We must act as one body. This human aggression cannot." The chamber doors opened. Susan Miller walked in, now wearing the formal uniform of Earth's diplomatic corps. The room fell silent. "The United Earth government sends its greetings," she said calmly, walking to the center speaking platform. "And information you should have been given centuries ago. You have no right to address this council," the Draxian shouted. "Your kind has attacked a founding member world." Miller activated a data crystal. Above her, a holographic display showed ancient records from the Scatheri secret archives. "These documents were recovered from Elder Vosik's private data vault," Miller explained. "They detail how the Scatheri have manipulated council politics for over 3,000 years, how they've eliminated 17 species they saw as threats to their power." The chamber erupted in shocked murmurs. "This is human deception," the Draxian insisted. "The data carries authentication codes only the Scatheri High Command could create," Miller countered. She turned to address all representatives. "Some of you already suspected. Some of you have suffered under their influence. The Nelveri lost 3 colony worlds to pirate attacks that these records show were actually Scatheri operations." The Nelveri representative stood slowly, forearms trembling. "Is this true?" "See for yourself," Miller said, transmitting data to each council member's private terminal. "Commander Ross is sending similar evidence to each of your homeworlds right now." Across the galaxy, the situation repeated. Human diplomatic teams led by Lieutenant Samantha Wright met secretly with leaders of the Nelveri, Brill, and Iridians. These 3 races had all suffered under Scatheri manipulation. Wright showed them proof of how the Scatheri had blocked their technological development, sabotaged their colonies, and even assassinated their leaders when they grew too influential. On the human flagship Vengeance, Commander Ross monitored these diplomatic missions. "The Nelveri have agreed to alliance," reported his communications officer. "The Brill and Iridians are considering our proposal." "And the others?" Ross asked. 4 council races demand we return Elder Vosik immediately. 6 are waiting to see what happens. The remaining 4 haven't responded yet. Ross nodded. "Just as we expected." "The council is fracturing along the lines Miller predicted." He turned to his tactical display. Human ships maintain position above key council worlds, not in threatening formation, but present enough to show Earth's unexpected reach. "Sir," a junior officer called. "Incoming transmission from President Ward." The president's face appeared on screen. "Commander, what's the status of Phase 2? "Proceeding as planned, Madam President. The council is divided. Our allies are gathering evidence from their own archives to support our case against the Scatheri." President Ward nodded. "Good. And Elder Vosik?" "Secure aboard the prison transport Jupiter. He's being treated well, despite his protests. The trial preparations are underway." "Excellent," said Ward. "Remember, Commander, this isn't just about revenge. It's about reshaping the galaxy into something better than what the Scatheri created." After the transmission ended, Ross looked out at the stars. The human fleet had revealed capabilities no one in the galaxy had suspected. Some council races were already reaching out, seeking protection or alliance. "Sir," his second-in-command asked quietly, "do you think this will lead to war with the remaining council loyalists?" Ross shook his head. "No. Once the trial begins and the evidence is public, even their closest allies will abandon the Scatheri. They know we could have destroyed Velos Prime. Instead, we're seeking justice. That distinction matters." Throughout human-controlled space, citizens watch developments with pride and anticipation. For the first time in galactic history, a young species had challenged the old order and showed that true justice could replace ancient power. The trial of Elder Vosik began on a neutral space station built specifically for this purpose. Humans called it Station Justice. Representatives from all council races were invited to attend. The proceedings were broadcast to every world in the galaxy. The station's main hall had been converted into a courtroom. Elder Vosik sat in a transparent chamber at its center. He wore simple clothes, not his ceremonial robes. Human guards stood nearby, but their weapons remained holstered. Chief Prosecutor Daniel Collins approached the speaker's platform. Unlike the angry military response many had expected, Collins was calm and professional. This tribunal has been established to try Elder Vosik for crimes against multiple species, including the murder of Ambassador John Carter. Collins began. All evidence will be presented openly. The accused will have full opportunity to speak in his defense. Vosik hissed, "I do not recognize this court's authority. The Galactic Council alone judges its members. The evidence we will present shows that the Council has been manipulated by the Scathari for centuries." Collins replied, "It can hardly be considered an impartial judge." Collins activated a display showing Ambassador Carter's execution. Many in the audience looked away as the silver flames consumed the human diplomat. "This was not justice," Collins said. "This was murder disguised as tradition." Over the next 3 days, Collins presented evidence recovered from Scathari archives. Records showed how they had engineered conflicts between other races, how they had prevented technological advancements that might challenge their power, how 17 species had been systematically eliminated when they grew too influential. Security for the trial was tight. Major Maria Garcia led the protection team. Twice, assassins tried to stop the proceedings. Once, a bomb was discovered near the courtroom. Each time, Garcia's team prevented disaster. "They're desperate to silence us," Garcia told Collins after the second attempt. "The evidence is too damaging." On the 4th day, Collins called his final witness, Professor William Jones, a human expert in alien cultures and history. "Professor Jones," Collins said, "why do you believe Ambassador Carter was targeted so specifically?" Jones adjusted his glasses. "The Scathari maintain a predictive algorithm system. It analyzes species development patterns. According to documents we recovered, this system identified humanity as unique." "Unique how?" Collins asked. "Most species follow predictable patterns after joining the galactic community," Jones explained. "They either become dependent on advanced technology from older races, or they focus on specific areas of expertise. Humans did neither." Jones displayed graphs showing development patterns of various species. The Scathari algorithm predicted that within 50 years, humans would match or exceed Scathari influence in the Council. Within 100 years, humans would completely reshape the galactic power structure. The courtroom buzzed with conversation. Vosk's scales darkened in anger. "Carter wasn't executed for breaking a taboo," Jones continued. "He was killed because the Scathari saw humanity as the only real threat to their control. His execution was meant to frighten us into submission." Vosik finally spoke. "You prove our point with your actions. Look how quickly you moved against us. Look at your military power hidden from Council observers. You are exactly the threat we predicted." Collins turned to Vosik. "Is that a confession, Elder? Are you admitting that Ambassador Carter was executed not for any violation, but because your people feared human potential?" Vosik realized his mistake too late. His admission had been broadcast across the galaxy. "Your species has always been arrogant," Vosik said bitterly. "You think your justice is superior to our traditions. You think your few centuries of civilization can compare to our millennia of order. Our justice offers you what you denied Ambassador Carter," Collins replied. "The chance to speak, the chance to defend yourself, the absence of torture. These are not weaknesses, Elder. They are the strengths of a truly advanced civilization." The Tribunal Council, comprised of representatives from non-aligned races, retired to consider their verdict. Throughout the galaxy, billions of beings watched and waited. The outcome would determine not just Vossic's fate, but potentially a new direction for galactic governance. Even some who had initially condemned the human military action now questioned their assumptions. Perhaps these newcomers weren't seeking revenge after all. Perhaps they truly wanted justice. The tribunal reached its decision after 2 days of deliberation. The main hall of Station Justice was packed with representatives from across the galaxy. Even species that had never joined the council sent observers. Elder Vossic stood in his containment field, his scaled face unreadable. The 3 judges entered silently and took their places. "We have reviewed all evidence," announced the lead judge, a member of the neutral Tellurian race. "We find Elder Vossic guilty of murder, conspiracy, and crimes against multiple species." A murmur ran through the crowd. The Scytheri delegation hissed in protest. "The traditional penalty for such crimes under most legal systems would be death," the judge continued. "However, the human prosecution has requested a different sentence." This caused surprise. Many had expected humans to demand execution, just as Vossic had done to Ambassador Carter. Chief Prosecutor Collins stood. "Humanity does not seek to mirror the cruelty shown to Ambassador Carter. We request life imprisonment, with access to historical and cultural materials, so that Elder Vossic may learn from the civilizations he helped destroy." Vossic looked confused. "You would spare my life, after what I did to your diplomat?" "Justice isn't about matching cruelty with cruelty," Collins replied. "It's about ensuring safety for others and the possibility of redemption, even for those who showed no mercy." The judges accepted the recommendation. Elder Vossic would live out his days in a comfortable but secure facility, with no contact with Scytheri leadership. As the verdict was announced across the galaxy, reactions varied. Some council races felt the humans had been too lenient. Others saw profound wisdom in their restraint. With the trial concluded, attention turned to reforming the Galactic Council. Colonel Jason Grant led a team to 12 star systems, dismantling hidden Scytheri weapon caches that had been positioned to threaten various council members. The scale of their manipulation was even greater than we thought. Grant reported to Commander Ross. They had planet-killer weapons aimed at the homeworlds of any race that grew too powerful. On Earth, President Ward addressed a joint session of the United Earth Government. "We did not come for revenge," she said to thunderous applause. "We came for justice. Now we must help build something better than what existed before." Not everyone was satisfied. Some military leaders had pushed for harsher punishment of the Scytheri. "They would have exterminated us without a second thought," Admiral Peterson argued during a closed-door meeting. "How can we be sure they won't try again?" "Because we've broken their power structure," Susan Miller explained. "The Reformed Council will have checks and balances. No single species will hold such influence again." The new Galactic Charter was drafted over the next month. Humans worked alongside the Nelveri, Brill, Aridians, and other former victims of Scytheri manipulation. The document established the Carter Protocols, ensuring that no species could be punished without representation and due process. When the charter was ready, representatives from 28 species gathered to sign it. The ceremony took place on Centralis Station, the same place where Ambassador Carter had been arrested. "This location was chosen deliberately," President Ward said during the signing ceremony, "to remind us that from injustice can come positive change if we choose wisdom over vengeance." The Reformed Council would operate differently. Leadership would rotate between member species. Military power would be balanced. Knowledge would be shared more openly. As humans took their place in this new order, they brought unique perspectives. Their history of overcoming their own divisions gave them insight into creating unity from diversity. Some council races still viewed humans with suspicion. The Draxians and 3 other species refused to sign the new charter, forming their own separate alliance. But most recognized that humans had shown remarkable restraint given their military capabilities. "They could have destroyed us all," a Nelveri elder commented to Susan Miller after the ceremony. "Instead, They forced us to become better. Miller watched as the various delegates mingled, species that had been kept apart by Scythery manipulation now talking freely. This is what Carter would have wanted, she thought. Not revenge, but transformation. As the gathering concluded, a memorial flame was lit in the center of the station. It would burn eternally, in memory of all those who had suffered under the old order, and as a promise that such injustice would not happen again. 5 years passed since the reformation of the Galactic Council. The galaxy had changed in ways few could have imagined. Where once the Scythery had dominated through fear and manipulation, now a coalition of species worked together, with humanity playing a key role. The Carter Memorial Embassy stood at the heart of Centralis Station. Its design combined architectural elements from all council races. Inside, Ambassador Lisa Patterson represented Earth in the new council chambers. Patterson had never met John Carter, but his legacy shaped her daily work. Today was no exception. A situation had developed that would test the new order. "The council recognizes Ambassador Patterson," announced the Brill chairperson. The position now rotated yearly between member species. Patterson stood. "Thank you, chairperson. I wish to bring attention to the situation in the Vega sector. Scouts have discovered a previously unknown sentient species." Holographic images appeared, showing a race of blue-skinned beings with 4 arms, similar to the Nelvari, but with distinctive ridge patterns. Initial reports suggest they have developed faster than light travel, but haven't ventured far from their home system. Patterson continued. Under the old council, they would have been evaluated for potential threat and possibly manage. Everyone understood what she meant. Under Scythery influence, such species were often sabotaged or manipulated into destroying themselves. "I propose we invoke the Carter Protocols and establish peaceful contact," Patterson said. "Offer them membership without preconditions or demands." A representative from one of the newer council races objected. "Their system contains valuable resources. Perhaps we should negotiate from a position of strength." Patterson smiled patiently. That thinking led to the very problems we sought to correct 5 years ago. The Carter Protocols exist precisely to prevent exploitation of newly discovered species. The debate continued, but ultimately the council voted to support Patterson's approach. A contact team would be assembled, with representatives from multiple races. Later, Patterson walked through the memorial garden at the center of the station. A flame burned in a crystal housing, the eternal flame for the victims of the old order. Susan Miller, now Earth's strategic director, joined her. "The vote went well," Miller said. "Carter would have been proud." Patterson nodded. "Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if he hadn't been killed. Would we still have discovered this Scythery manipulation? Would the council have reformed?" "We can't know," Miller replied. "But his death wasn't in vain. The galaxy is better now than it was." They paused at the flame. Miller placed her hand on the crystal housing. "We remembered, John," she whispered. "And we built something better from the ashes." Across the galaxy, humanity's influence continued to grow, not through fear or dominance, but through partnership and innovation. Human colonies flourished alongside those of other species. Trade routes connected systems that had once been isolated from each other by Scythery policies. On the former Scythery homeworld, a new generation was growing up with a different understanding of the galaxy. Schools taught a more accurate history, acknowledging past wrongs while looking toward a better future. Elder Vosek still lived in his secure facility. He had grown frail but remained mentally sharp. Over the years, he had studied the histories of those 17 species his people had helped destroy. Slowly, something like regret had begun to form in his ancient mind. The human guards treated him with respect, despite knowing what he had done. This confused him at first, but eventually he came to understand it as strength, not weakness. Throughout human space, the story of Ambassador Carter was taught to children, not as a tale of revenge, but as a lesson in justice. How humanity had faced cruelty with measured response. How they had changed the galaxy not by becoming like their enemies, but by staying true to their better nature. As humanity expanded further into the stars, their reputation preceded them. They did not seek war, but neither did they fear it. They preferred friendship but would fight if necessary. Most importantly, they judged others not by age or power, but by actions and intentions. The galaxy had learned an important lesson. Do not mistake human patience for weakness, nor their desire for peace as fear of war. For when humanity finally acts, they change not just the battle, but the very rules by which it is fought.